It's simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, the meme review, software releases, the websites by plebes or plebs, and we also have hardware releases now, apparently. Anyways, drop us a like, subscribe. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time!
At the time of this recording, the block height is 691,188. The Bitcoin price, 31,820. Chain rewrite days, 1,116. Total public lightning capacity, I believe that's another all-time high.
It is.
1,838.96. Bitcoin versus gold market cap. Oh, I haven't seen this number in a while. 5%. Sats per dollar, 3,140. So yeah, we're we're in stack and sat territory. But technically, depending on how long your time horizon is, the 60K region is a stacking sat territory as well. I stacked at those prices. I don't really care.
Dude, so did I, man.
But, it's because it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Because look, I stacked at those prices. I've been stacking at these prices longer. So.
But I feel like we're frozen in time.
I know, we are frozen in time. It's so bad.
I feel like the 30K is like the new 10K, dude.
I know, right? I feel like we said that a while ago.
It's fucking crazy. But hey, it's what you said though. At least the lightning capacity keeps crawling up, dude.
Look, because you know what the reality is that when the price gets boring, okay, people turn around and they start to look at Bitcoin itself, and right away, what do you notice? You start to notice things like lightning.
Yeah,
so,
there's that.
You want to think with it. Hardware wallets, nodes, mining.
There's that mining, and there's that, and Bitcoin Twitter consumes itself. So, it's positive things. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the daily fail. All right, everyone. This was a tweet storm that came out yesterday from Jackson Palmer. For the people who don't know who Jackson Palmer is, he is the creator of Dogecoin. Okay. Anyways, he doesn't really comment very much. Okay, so that's kind of why I'm going through this. I picked this tweet thread, but also I think that there's a lot of disingenuous information. Let's dive into it. Okay. Starts off like this. I'm often asked if I will return to cryptocurrency or begin regularly sharing my thoughts on the topic again. My answer is wholeheartedly no, but to avoid repeating myself, I figure it might be worthwhile briefly explaining why here. So it's interesting that he says no, but then proceeds to write a tweet thread about what he thinks about cryptocurrency. So, anyways, here we go. I believe that cryptocurrency is inherently right-wing, hyper-capitalistic technology built primarily to amplify the wealth of its proponents through a combination of tax avoidance, diminished regulatory oversight, and artificially enforced scarcity. So, don't get me wrong, but when I read these comments, and I'm going to continue, okay? But I feel that the narrative that he's painting is a complete shitcoin narrative. And it makes sense. He did invent Doge after all, which was a joke to begin with and is still a joke. Anyways, let's continue. Despite claims of decentralization, the cryptocurrency industry is controlled by a powerful cartel of wealthy figures who, with time, have evolved to incorporate many of the same institutions tied to the existing centralized financial system they supposedly set out to replace. So look, right away when I got to this point in this, I was like, okay, he's totally talking about shitcoins. He is just not talking about Bitcoin. That is really what the VCs are doing with the shitcoins. That's where the money is coming from for all the tokens. That's where the money comes from for all of that garbage. Okay? Anyways, let's continue. The cryptocurrency industry leverages a network of shady business connections, bot influencers, and pay-for-play media outlets to perpetuate a cult-like get-rich-quick funnel designed to extract new money from the financially desperate and naive. So at this point, we know for a fact that he's obviously talking about shitcoins. There is no Bitcoin corporation. There is nobody sitting there paying anybody from quote-unquote Bitcoin to anybody here. We do this because We believe in Bitcoin and we believe in its message. So we are here talking about it.
We don't make shit, okay? We don't make that much money.
That's the other thing too.
And we show up every fucking day because we love fucking Bitcoin. Okay, anyways.
But it is true for the shitcoining though. It is true though for the shitcoining. The big major thing that they have is marketing, right? Like I just want, like that's something that people need to know. Like, we get offers like that all the time, to go and shill some shitcoin, right? And they'll give us, a certain amount of tokens or whatever it is. That's garbage, like I get that on my personal accounts and it's just sad. Delete. Anyways, okay, let's continue. Cryptocurrency is like taking the worst parts of today's capitalist system, example, corruption, fraud, inequality, and using software to technically limit the use of inventions. Audits, regulation, taxation. Really sounds like a bootlicker though. I mean, if we're going to be taxed, if we're going to pay for these things, if we're going to have these things, should they not actually serve the people that pay for them? Because right now they are simply imposed upon us and they do not serve us. They don't serve the greater good. They just serve a very small portion. Okay. We're going to finish it off with this. For these reasons, I simply no longer go out of my way to engage in public discussion regarding cryptocurrency. But you engaged in this! And you wrote this so long tweet thread. Anyways. So, what did you think about some of that disingenuousness?
I'm going to stick to the comment that I've been nailing in for like the last week and a half, and maybe you guys are going to get pissed off at me, but I keep saying this. Shitcoiners remind me of communists, okay? Like, and that guy sounded like a fucking communist. He's like the worst parts of capitalism. Right wing by nature. It's like, bro, like it's man, these people live in fucking fantasy land. And I bet you that dude lives in either New York or San Francisco. I'm putting my money on it right now. Do you want to check, Phil? You want to check his location. Check his location. I'm betting it right now because he sounds like this, like Brian Armstrong. Like,
yep, you got it.
What is it?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. There you go, bro. I'm telling you, dude. Like they're all the same. All these VC people, they sound exactly the same. They're like these Bitcoiners are crazy. The Jason, remember the Jason whatever Kalakanaskis or whatever? It's the same thing, dude.
There it is.
San Francisco. Boom.
Oh.
They're all the same. Shamat, they all have that same type of like Silicon Valley, like I can make a better Bitcoin. And the fact that they can't make a better Bitcoin is the reason that they literally act this way, right? And they say it's right wing. They say it's they try to put all these labels, right, to try to cancel the idea, the idea of what Bitcoin represents, right? Because they can't stand the fact that they didn't come up with it themselves, right? So it's kind of like an ego thing. It's kind of like these people are like literally communist type of thing. It's like a combination of things, man. But it's crazy because you see the same pattern throughout all shitcoiners. Like they kind of sound the same. It's like I don't know what else to say, man.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of this discussion that was going on in our Telegram, right, with one of the people that watches our show, this guy Gary, that was explaining, Bitcoin is about, freedom versus totalitarianism. And that is true. It's not about right versus left or any of that, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin isn't about just the US, right? It's about the whole world. So it really is about freedom versus totalitarianism. And when these people, essentially, when they go and they put these ideas together and they put these words together to form these stories, by putting those ideas together, they're making you think something, or they want to essentially present the idea so that you think a certain way about something. And that's really not what it's about.
They're pitching utopia. He's pitching
That's right.
utopia. He says Bitcoin is not enough. if I had my choice of what a cryptocurrency could be, there would be more quality, there would be a more better version of capitalism, there would be essentially what he's saying, if you give me total power and control, I could do it better. That's essentially what he's saying. Like, in between the lines, you could read it, you could see it in his rhetoric, right? So yeah, man, like, Jackson Palmer, have fun staying poor.
That's right.
But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review.
They keep labeling us right wing, dude.
I know.
You mentioned that one book on Amazon that one time. This is the second time I hear that argument.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, man, this is exactly what we said. Okay, like, this is the battle, right? Because this is how they're going to try to destroy
Yes.
Bitcoin. This is like the next thing to try to destroy it here in the U.S.
Yeah.
That Bitcoin is a right-wing ideology, and that is completely false. It doesn't matter that the right wing so happens to have ideology that aligns strongly with freedom. That is a happenstance. That existed before Bitcoin did. Like, the point is that Bitcoin's for everyone. It doesn't it's such bullshit, man.
All right, everybody, we got 2 memes to review today. One brought to us by our in-house meme dealer. Shout out, Weinicus. Anyways, let's check out his meme. Metallic. Okay, could you guys stop trading? Okay, and then a tweet from Anders. Dude, please
and hands.
And hands. Thank you, Phil. Dude, Nico can't read. Dude, please take me with you to El Salvador. That's Pedro and Jack Mahler's. Well, how have I not?
He does the greatest troll memes. I mean,
Dude.
like, his stuff is savage. It's insane. I love it. Anyway.
Shout out to Weinicus. Shout out to Hands.
I've asked him to come on the show, but
savage, of course, man.
He likes his privacy.
The most toxic Bitcoiners, they just don't come on, man.
No.
They're too toxic. They're too toxic. But anyways,
we've gotten a few.
We've managed to catch a couple. But
come and hang out with us.
Gotta catch 'em, Pokemon. Okay. Anyways, Phil, I'm gonna give that a popcorn kernel. Oh, and check it out. What about you?
So, that was a popped popcorn. The kernel wouldn't have been popped. Just saying. I'm just putting that out there. Not that it matters. It doesn't. Okay? Anyways, I am giving it a very special... Check this out. It's Bones Reds Bearings sticker.
Dude!
People that skate, you probably have Reds bearings. A lot of people do. Speed Demons were pretty cool when I was a kid. But anyways.
Sick! Okay. Awesome scores for some awesome memes by Weinicus and Hands. But anyways, guys, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comments. Rate the meme. And of course, join our Telegram group. Drop us some links so we can review the memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for it.
The Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
Senator Loomis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and welcome. Good to see you again. My first question, as you might guess, is about digital assets. You had testified yesterday in front of the House Financial Services Committee.
By the way, we played you guys that video yesterday.
That one of the stronger arguments in support of a central bank digital currency was its potential to render stablecoins and virtual currencies unnecessary. But in March, you acknowledged that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other virtual currencies are essentially a substitute for gold rather than the dollar. So I want to talk a little bit about the difference between the two. So it's pretty clear that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other virtual currencies are investment commodities and not payment instruments. The SEC and CFTC have said as much in court cases and regulatory actions. So I think what you were trying to get at is one of the best arguments for a central bank digital currency is that stable coins could be rendered unnecessary.
You're Basically, you're right. But let me say, though, with cryptocurrencies, it's not that they didn't aspire to be a payment mechanism. It's that they've completely failed to become one, except for people who desire anonymity, of course, for whatever reason.
Okay. So, first off, shout out Senator Loomis, okay, putting up the good fight in the corrupt halls of the swampy Washington, D.C. So man, that's awesome that Senator Loomis is, at least supporting our side. But there's a lot of signal there that we want to unpack, and that is, of course, the change in rhetoric from the central banks, right? From specifically this time from the Fed. As Senator Loomis pointed out, back was it a couple months ago that Jerome Powell said essentially that Bitcoin is like an alternative to gold. Now you heard it himself, and you see how uncomfortable he was feeling in that video. I'm not sure if you picked it up as well, Phil. Like, Senator Loomis was putting him against the wall, and he was clearly uncomfortable with that question. This tells me that they're feeling pressure, right? That people are opting out of the dollar. They're going into Bitcoin. And it also tells me the Fed's strategy moving forward. What they're going to say is that, again, Bitcoin failed as a payment method, and it's an inefficient payment method that uses too much energy, right? And of course, the same old, it's only useful for people that want an anonymity, right? That's the only reason that you would want to use something like Bitcoin, right? So we've already debunked all of this nonsense. We're going to continue debunking this nonsense, but it's very important to keep an eye out at what your opponent is doing. And again, they're changing the narrative once again. They're changing the strategy, right? At least we have Senator Loomis, fighting the good fight in DC for Bitcoin, but they're changing the narrative. And the narrative is, again, Bitcoin is an inefficient payment method. It's failed as a payment method. It's only useful for anonymous transactions. And of course, our central bank digital currency is going to be a much better payment method and a much more efficient one. That's what they're going to do. That's their strategy. They just laid it all out on the table. And shout out to Senator Loomis for calling it out. Again, I keep giving her credit, but I have to give credit where credit is due. Phil?
I just find that we're stupidly overconfident, right? Like, we're sitting here, you see people like Senator Powell, they're talking about CBDCs, and they believe that they've got a handle on this. Like you just pointed out, they said that Bitcoin is a terrible, failed as a payment method. These other cryptocurrencies failed as a payment method. Look, so it's really, it's so disingenuous, and it just goes to show how, we're stupidly overconfident. We don't quite understand the entirety of what Bitcoin really means to money and to our lives. We really don't understand it the same way that we didn't understand the internet. And we did a poor job back then with regulations, where we tried to superimpose regulations on the internet, and it didn't really make any sense. There's a lot of stuff that they tried that completely failed. Okay. And we're going to see this again with Bitcoin. Like, they're sitting here and now they've decided, okay, well, Bitcoin isn't a payment rail. They've decided that it's an investment. Okay. Well, guess what? If I own shares of, let's say, Ford, I can't just send those shares of Ford on my phone to Nico. Like, I can't do that. I'd love to do that. Nico might want those shares, but I can't do that. But I can do that with Bitcoin. So all of a sudden, it's a peer-to-peer medium of exchange. Well, guess what? That does something different than an investment does. At the same time, it also has a messaging capability. You could put messaging in Bitcoin. So, you can't do that with any investment. So there's different random things. And of course, like, look at, Bitcoin with the way that it's made, right? With the censorship resistance, we've gone through all this, the immutability, all that good stuff. Like, it has all these different qualities than what they have termed investments. And they're now just going to try to lump it right into this. I don't know. Like, I just think it's destined for failure, like, and these people are going to catch themselves in a, I don't know if it, like, what it is, if it's like a cage, if it's like some corner, but at some point they are going to try to, like, they're going to impose regulation. And because they don't understand Bitcoin, the regulation is going to completely backfire on them.
Absolutely.
They just don't get it. And that's why they're creating these CBDCs.
And every time, they every time a country has tried to ban Bitcoin, the desired outcome was the opposite. The volume peer-to-peer, volume in that country just exploded, and just instead of it being an open exchange, everything just goes underground, and the government loses an avenue to tax. And I just want to go back and circle back to this idea that like Bitcoin is a failed payment method. Well, a lot of Venezuelans, would completely disagree with you. A lot of people in Lebanon would completely disagree with you. A lot of people apparently now in Ethiopia, again, would like to disagree with you. Here's this article by Martin Leo Rivers on Forbes. Renewed hope: how Bitcoin and green energy can save Ethiopia's economy. Let's check it out. I cannot pronounce that name.
Salamawit Gurma.
Okay, but I'm not going to put in the Nico Camp Reed meme because that was a really hard name. Thank you, Phil. A mother of 3 living in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, is worried. I'm sorry, Ethiopians, if I butchered that. I really apologize. I could barely read English as it is. Okay, anyways, her salary of 4,000 birr, about $91.
That's interesting.
All right, it is interesting. Isn't going as far as it used to. Inflation surpassed 20% in Ethiopia's last year, right? Ethiopia exists within a global financial order that puts the US dollar, the world's only reserve currency, at its apex. And while printing trillions of dollars to stimulate demand seems to be helping America in the short term, at least the practice is having a devastating impact on poorer nations whose currencies are directly or indirectly pegged to USD, right? It's our problem because we rely on another country's monetary policy. Bitcoin fixes this. Bingo. Exactly, Phil. They don't do it out of spite or to hurt us, right? Again, this is what I keep saying. It's even humans with the best intentions inevitably corrupt the system. Why? Because absolute power corrupts absolutely. And if you have an unlimited money printer to pay for literally everything, what does that do? It corrupts the system. Anyways, they don't do it out of spite or to hurt us. It's our own choice to hold dollars, right? These holdings don't increase proportionately as the Fed prints more and more money, so their real value or their purchasing power is gradually eroded by inflation. So Powell, when you say that Bitcoin is a failed payment method, it looks like some Ethiopians, really disagree with you. And not only Ethiopians, some Venezuelans as well. And not only Venezuelans, some Nigerians as well. Not only some Nigerians, some Lebanese as well. You get my point, right? When the U.S. decides to print money, essentially what they're doing is that they're making the rest of the world poorer, specifically for the countries that hold dollars, right? So listen, I think more and more countries are going to move off the dollar. We already saw Russia announce that they're dropping all reserves of dollars precisely because the U.S. is just printing it to pay for all these, government policies no one agrees with. But yeah, man, Powell, not only have fun staying poor, you're lying. And I know you're lying. Look how uncomfortable that question made you feel. Look how uncomfortable you got when Loomis was just calling out your BS, man. You were fiddling, you were writing down, you were playing with your mouth, I'm not a face reader, but, it was pretty obvious to me. What do you think, Phil?
Some pretty good books on reading body language. But yeah, definitely you could see he didn't feel comfortable with those responses. Great to see what's going on in Ethiopia. I love to see stories like that. I think that those are, to me, those are the real Bitcoin success stories. Look, it's fantastic that those of us in the West who have easy access, to USD, can stack sats. It's really not, we want to pat ourselves on the shoulder for that. It's not such a great accomplishment. But those people using Bitcoin out there, you know what I mean? That's pretty cool. Right? I think that that's really cool. And I think that the people using Bitcoin to actually fight a system out there, I think that that's, you know what? I think that those are the places where we can get those easier wins, right? Because this money here, people like, we get it, right? But most people don't get it. Like, you explain it to them and they don't really care. But over there, they get it because they live a life that they're impacted by it immediately. We just don't feel it yet. So yes, it's good that we stack sats, but like, these people, I think it's a bigger success story.
They stack sats to survive, man.
That's right.
That's literally why they're stacking sats. And look, it like the devil's in the details. It said it right there. We are relying on another nation's currency, right? Bitcoin fixes this, right? So yeah, man, I hope, Ethiopia follows in the steps of El Salvador. And if Bitcoin's game theory plays out the way we think it will, it should. But anyways, check out this tweet from Stefan Livera. He says, impressive to see the focus on non-custodial plus permissionless. Very interesting from Jack. This is the only way. And let's see what they were talking about. Square is creating a new business, joining Seller, Cash App, and Tidal. Focus on building an open developer platform with the sole goal of making it easy to create non-custodial, permissionless, and decentralized financial services. Our primary focus is Bitcoin. Its name is to be determined. Like our new Bitcoin hardware wallet, we're going to do this completely in the open roadmap, open development, open source. Brock M is leading and building the team, and we have some ideas around the initial platform primitives we want to build. How is this different from Square Crypto? Square doesn't give direction to Square Crypto, only funding. They choose to work on LDK, and any doing an incredible job. To be determined will be focused on creating platform businesses, blah, 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 blah. Okay, point is that Jack was really serious about what he said at Bitcoin 2021. He said that, that if it wasn't for Twitter or for what he was working on in space or at Square, he would dedicate himself completely to Bitcoin. Now, again, I don't really trust Jack that much because he does censor on Twitter, and it's kind of like hypocritical for someone who supports Bitcoin the way he does and says that Bitcoin is so important. He censors, he literally censored the president of the United States at one point, not to get political, but what you're censoring people, that's kind of anti-Bitcoin anyways. But it is I do see it as good news, though, in the sense that, again, Square and Cash App have tremendous amount of influence. A lot of Bitcoiners like those applications, right? And the fact that he's choosing to develop a product in an open source manner, I think is a really, really good thing, right? I think that I think that all Bitcoin companies should follow, that example, and let's see what happens. But I'm going to take Phil's approach. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. Phil?
No one cares about Square Crypto. That like, even as soon as you started reading it, it just got boring. It's like, it's all interesting that he's talking about the wallet and all that good stuff, but then we start talking about Square Crypto and like, meh, nobody cares. Anyways, it's like you said, it's good, right? It's good that he's building out in the open. It's good that he's saying what he's saying, but at the end of the day, we got to watch Jack.
We don't trust Jack.
But it's interesting, right? It's interesting that like maybe it's because he doesn't seem to create the fanfare that Elon Musk does. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's more low key, so he doesn't rub the masters the wrong way. I don't know.
Do you think this is like kind of like a speculation? Do you think that he's held hostage at Twitter?
In a way, sometimes, maybe. Like, I don't know. That's an interesting question, though. It's a very interesting question.
Like, was he the one? Was he the one behind? Like, was he the man saying we got to censor that? I don't think so. I think there was pressure on him.
I don't think so. So look, like I don't think that he really necessarily gets to make those decisions.
Yes.
Kind of like the same way that like the president. Think of it like this, right? The president changes out every 4 years. Do you think that every president knows every single secret? There's a whole business that goes on without the president. Everybody's going to work every day. That's the only job that's automatically getting swapped out every 4 years. Okay, it might be the same guy once in a while, but at the end of the day, it's a different guy.
Yeah.
So you think they know everything? They don't know everything.
Yeah.
And like, you know what? And even if they even let's say even if they do know everything, do you think they're in charge of everything? Not a chance. They're like I said, there's a whole business that goes on.
So
This is just a face they put in front of us.
So exactly. So you know, like
Jack's the face they put in front of us. He's that hippie dude. Every time we look at him, we say, "Why can't you just take a shower?" Just come on, Jack. You could afford a shower. I take a shower. Look, I shaved today. You could do it too, Jack.
So what the deep state is to the president, it would be deep big tech.
Deep big.
I don't know, but anyways, we're rambling. Phil, there was a software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Actual software releases. We've got Sparrow Wallet, and that's a Bitcoin wallet, version 1.4.3. Down below in the show notes, check it out.
Awesome, thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the Bitcoin perspective and the catastrophic fiat and shitcoin fails, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Jack can afford showers.